What up, what up?
What's going on? Welcome to the weightlifting scoop.
From the CLT.
If that means Charlotte, for those of you who don't use the Charlotte airport very often.
Well, in case you
Don't explain the slang. Just keep talking.
Yeah. Well, I think he explained that once before.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Anyways, Tom Sroka
Yo.
and Matt Bergeron.
Yep.
So we got a huge cast in here today. We got 5 people, so gonna get a lot of opinions, a lot of good information. Hopefully some funny stuff too. Anybody got anything funny?
Ain't nobody got time for that. This is all serious.
Tell your joke.
What
The
joke?
one you just told. I had a good answer for.
Oh, jeez. That's not even funny. That's like 3rd grade. But
That's
Well.
what makes it funny.
okay. Tom, you're gonna have to speak into the mic, son.
Get off your phone.
Get off your
Speak
phone,
into the
Tom.
mic.
Make love to the mic.
Shut up, man.
Way to make it creepy.
Yeah, seriously.
So anyways, if a quiz is quizzical, what is a test?
Testicle. See, it's funny.
It's only funny because you just yelled testicle.
It makes it that much better.
I wish you didn't make me tell that joke on there.
Well, too late now.
That's the best we had, though. So that's sad.
Hey there, big boy.
On the other side of that, the rest of the whole broadcast should get up higher than that bar. Set pretty low right at the
Feel
start.
free to post your jokes on the comment section below.
I don't know.
Yeah.
So getting right into it with a little bit of weightlifting.
Yeah.
Tom wanted to talk about flexibility versus mobility.
Yes.
So
There's a lot of stuff I've been seeing lately on Facebook. I don't know, people's podcasts, all sorts of different like social media things, and there's a lot of people arguing, and I think there is a bit of confusion when it comes to flexibility versus mobility. And I thought, seeing to it that we work on both throughout our training and everything like that, it'd be a good topic to talk about, possibly which one you think is more important in terms of working on, which one kind of just happens a little easier, and which one you kind of have to work for.
There's a third one that you left out. Stability.
Yeah, no, that's overrated. That's God given. You either have that or you don't.
So a lot of people that can't sit upright in a squat, in an overhead squat or something like
Sean.
that. Some people, well, Sean is flexibility, but some people it's stability. It's physically being able to balance in that position. So I think there is a third part to that too, but interesting topic.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not that interesting. But
There goes.
lead the conversation.
I more want to hear James's view, because James and I have gotten into, let's just go with debates as we're warming up for training on numerous occasions. And James has a very interesting view in terms of warming up and flexibility versus.
Well, James is a master debater, and
He is.
Well, it's because I'm always right.
and
Ouch.
and he and oftentimes he's just screwing with you. So maybe we can get an actual answer out of James on here.
All right,
He's
so
not fudging.
let's talk about the little debate me and Tom had. I pretty much said yoga's useless. No weightlifter should ever do yoga.
And I said you were full of crap.
Yep, and what was the words? No, it wasn't quite that. It says something like that's just ignorant.
Yes, I
And
did
you
call
were fired up.
because you were being an ass about it.
So I guess if we get into a real conversation about that particular situation, my idea for somebody who is strictly just a weightlifter is to be mobile and flexible enough to get into the right positions. And once they can get into those positions, then it's just going to be very little maintenance, depending on people's diets, because, of course, diet affects flexibility a lot. And then they just need to be able to stay in those positions. There's a limit to how flexible you should be for a weightlifter. And once you get there, you don't want to go past it, because you probably can become too flexible for weightlifting.
I'm going to come in on James's side on this one.
Of course you are.
Well, he's a better debater than you are. But I believe that. I've always believed that particular thing to be true, although I don't think I've ever really come out and stated it. But over-flexibility, hyper-flexibility is not necessarily good. for weightlifting. I think there are more flexible weightlifters. Cheryl Hayworth was extremely flexible, but it suited her. She never really worked on getting more flexible than she was. And I don't believe there's a great deal to be gained by, obviously if you've got deficits and as you say you can't get into the positions, that's one thing. But once you can, doing things like a lot of yoga, things like that, I don't see the benefit to. Sorry, Tom.
Well,
it's fine. I mean, I think, especially when it comes to women, they have a little more leeway. Women, I don't know. I remember the only reason I've thought about this in terms of like the flexibility thing. I think it was can't remember her name, Bo Charnigan's daughter.
Kelly,
yeah. I remember watching her lift in the training hall at the Arnold last year. And I mean, that girl, when she catches, it doesn't matter, whether she's looks like she's trying to hold position or not. When she catches a snatch, her butt is almost touching the ground. And I know that also has to do with like limb length and all that stuff too.
But either way, if you saw her lifting, you would know that she's crazy flexible.
That's I know, but it doesn't seem to. I don't know if she was, I guess, tighter or whatever, or like if that would make it better, or like make her lifts better or not. Like, I mean, she seems to do all right. That's my whole premise on it.
Well,
Like,
I think too. I mean, what you guys are saying is you can be too flexible, but I mean, you have to be extremely flexible to get to that point. So there's certainly people out there that can't get into the correct position.
Yeah, and I think James covered that by saying that if you can get into the correct positions for your personal lifting, if the positions are correct, there's not a hell of a lot of time needed to be put into doing a lot more than that, or getting a lot more flexible in that. And I do believe that it can, for some people, become detrimental.
Yeah.
You can overstretch the back sometimes, as gymnasts do for their sport, and that can be detrimental to weightlifting. If you're continually arching that back to get the most arch you can out of it for certain gymnastic tricks, that's not necessarily the level you have to go to be a very, very good weightlifter. If you happen to have that natural flexibility, that's another story.
Yeah. The comparison I like to make is limit strength. You only have to be so strong to be one of the top ping pong players. And there's also a good movie called Ping Pong Playa, if anybody's interested.
seriously.
Yeah, seriously, that's a real movie.
Let's go get it now.
But, I mean, you could be too strong for ping pong, and then that would be detrimental to your ping pong playing, or table tennis, whatever you want to call it. But I feel like it's a similar concept, not quite the same, of being too flexible and working on too much flexibility, and then you sacrifice, because if you get more flexible, then you have to go back and fill that flexibility in with strength. And then that's going to take away time that you would be building your maximal strength by building more stability. So then it's really just kind of juggling all three of those things together, I guess.
Sure.
It just depends on what you're talking about, because if you are hitting the bottom of a squat and then the bar is crashing on you, that's bad. If there's a lot of bar drop. But if you're catching the bar in the bottom of a squat and there's not a lot of bar drop, it's not necessarily a bad thing. But I think there are some people who are too flexible where they're catching the bar high, super flexible, they hit the bottom, that bar crashes on them, they miss the lift.
Who would be an example of someone that happens to? Do you have any off the top of your head?
Well, that happens to Matt at lighter weights.
Yep, that's what I was getting at.
Don't let him know.
So you're saying I'm too flexible?
You can be.
Well, I think just I don't think you're necessarily too flexible, but you don't control the bar before you get all the way to the bottom at lighter weights. And I was talking to you yesterday actually about this a little bit, and about how that doesn't necessarily happen at your max attempts because there's not as much bar drop.
Yeah.
I think, sometimes that happens to Kendrick actually in the snatch. Very, very flexible. Controls the weight at about parallel and then sinks down almost too far sometimes, so there's a lot of bar drop and he misses it behind.
I think that's a very good example. I hadn't thought of that in a long time, but yeah, I've thought that when I watched Kendrick before. He dropped so far, and actually I'll bring up another one too in the distant past, but I'll bring up another guy. Kendrick dropped so far that he actually puts his spine out of shape at the bottom to be a real strong holding, or his back muscles being able to hold really strong. He just happens to be freakishly strong anyway. Michael Martin used to do this. Michael Martin could go extremely low, and he was one of our best juniors ever. Held records for years and years in the junior class, and I think actually they changed the classes to take a school age or two away from him. But he used to drop excessively low, and eventually had some back problems because he would drop so low that his spine would round at the bottom, and he would take hits from the bar. But he was extremely fast and extremely strong, and he could get there, so he made a lot of lifts.
All right, so I think what we're trying to say, I guess, is that so some people maybe have, if your limits of flexibility in every different joint are equal, I guess it wouldn't be bad.
Well, I mean, yeah.
If your hips are more flexible than your back, if your hips are going down, your back's getting out of position, that's bad. But if everything stays in good position, that's okay.
That's the way it is. I mean, just like James said, if you are accomplishing the correct positions, then you've got enough flexibility. And as far as what you were talking about, having the bar drop on you, I mean, you've always got to take into consideration that with light, heavy weights, whatever the weight, you've got to meet the bar and not necessarily go to the same dead bottom squat every time for every weight. I mean, you may get down there, but it's more a ride down for most weights other than your maximums. And you can see this right up to the best lifters in the world. They'll seldom go to a full squat with an opening lift. It just doesn't happen.
Well, we kind of saw that with hook grip release.
Right.
The picture of Liu Xiaozhan, which showed bar heights at different weights. And on his particularly, it's not the same with every single lifter, but his particularly, the bar went a couple inches lower with the 176 than the 165 throughout the same positions in each part of the lift, and obviously squatted a little lower. So he controlled the bars like 2-3 inches higher in the squat with 165 than 176, which was pretty cool to see because we all know that happens with most high-level lifters, but to actually see the difference in height, I thought that was very neat.
I thought that was a very instructive sequence photos. And a lot of coaches talk about that to lifters, and a lot of lifters don't ever get a chance to really see it. And a lot of coaches don't get a chance to really see it, and a lot of coaches still teach lifters to basically hit the bottom position they can hit every time they're on the bar. I've never been a believer in that, and I think that sequence points to why. I want you to meet the bar.
Well, I think there's a difference between going to the bottom every time and controlling the weight before you go to the bottom every time.
Yes.
So you want to control the crash that the bar has, but I think you should hit the same position every time in the bottom of the squat.
Well, like I said before, you can catch and ride down, and that's different than going to the bottom and having it come and crash down on you. Two different things.
Tom, what you got, buddy?
I thought he was asleep.
No, I'm not asleep.
I thought he fell asleep. I did. I thought he was gone.
I'm learning.
Oh, okay.
I was curious what you all had. I have my own opinion.
Wow.
So what is
that opinion?
What is your opinion?
My opinion's biased because I'm big and fat. I mean, I have to spend some time on the mobility work and the flexibility work. Like, I'm more flexible than I am mobile. I can, this little thing, dude, I keep hitting it. I can, bend over, touch my toes, and, I can do that kneeling stretch that you were making fun of me for a while there. I can do all that kind of stuff, but when it comes to sitting in, like, proper positions, like, doing, how long did it take me before I start doing SOTS presses without my heels coming off the ground? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just, my mobility, I think, is way worse than my flexibility. So I spend a little more time on my mobility work than my stretching. But when I first started lifting, it was the exact opposite because I felt like I could not move anyway. Like I felt super tight. So I spent a lot of time stretching when I first started training with Glenn. and now it's kind of shifted. But I was just curious what everybody else's thoughts.
Yeah, one other thing that would be good to mention about what bring to people's attention is that like things getting in the way of getting into a full position. Not to be mean or anything, but somebody with a big belly, they're not going to squat quite as deep. Somebody with huge calves and hamstrings, and they're just going to get in the way. You won't be able to flex your knee down as much. You won't be able to flex your hip as much when you're squatting down into the full position. And even with people with big old arms, I mean, getting in the way of the rack position, elbows can't flex as much as
Big old arms.
big old arms.
Could you imagine
big old arms?
Could you imagine if somebody had Sean's like upper, like his quads and hamstrings, and then my calves, trying to get into a squat position?
You know, I think there's somebody like that. I think it's he's
say
from
a man, I will throw
Ukraine. What's that lifter's name?
Udichin, the guy we were just talking
Yeah,
about?
I mean,
He's got a belly on him.
I saw him at the World Championships, and he was doing power snatches with 160 or something crazy. He's a super heavyweight, for those of you who don't know, with a big old belly. And
It was really funny because watching the webcast on that, all the female announcer kept doing was making fun of him, just because of how big his belly was. She goes, if he would lose that belly, he'd be able to lift a lot more. He wouldn't.
I don't know.
He needs to lose that belly.
Hey, I love announcers like that. I mean, you gotta understand that super heavyweights. It comes down to
We're a
mass,
bunch of big,
mass
sexy men.
versus mass. I mean, they're not as efficient as smaller lifters.
Well,
that just can't be. So it helps to have a belly sometimes.
ass moves mass, not belly.
Oh,
yeah, yeah.
well, it does. But
Well, I mean, in all seriousness, I guess he had gained a fair amount of weight before this year's World Championships, and he was having a tough time making lifts. So he had gained a significant amount of weight.
That's
bombed,
another
didn't he, in
story.
the snatch?
He bombed in something. I think it was a clean and jerk. I'm not sure.
Speaking of big arms, Matt, what do you have to say?
My only question would be for, say, for that situation at Udichin, somebody who was at a specific weight or size, whatever, and they get put on a ton of mass, how could you possibly avoid mobility issues or training issues?
Well, his issues weren't necessarily mobility. It was just,
His issues were
physically.
staying away from the buffet.
I mean, seriously, like the bar was hitting his belly. I mean, to a certain extent, if the bar is hitting your belly, it's obviously taken away from what you can lift.
Didn't Razazadeh used to
Razazadeh
snatch off his belly?
used
Yeah,
to
he would
snatch off
bump
his belly.
on his belly, but
Yeah.
if you're bumping under your belly and
Yeah.
then it's running into it, you're physically taking away momentum from the bar.
Well, again, that comes down to there's a certain amount of mass that's going to be good for a big guy, and there's a certain amount of mass that's going to be too much.
I saw Razazadeh at the World Championships, and I didn't see him once without him eating some hard candies
There you go.
nonstop.
That's my
man.
boy.
Just hard candies the whole time.
I bet you I can get him on a Nabisco sponsorship.
Well, that brings us to our next comment about how food affects how flexible and mobile you are.
Amen.
So foods that are inflammatory are going to make you less flexible.
Name them. Because some people don't know.
Oreos.
Fuck, dude, I knew you were going to do that.
Number one. That's number one on the list, isn't it, James?
and then
Listen.
cheesecake.
Yeah.
When I was eating like 3 packs of Oreos in a week, that's when I cleaned 202. I have reduced my Oreo consumption,
Uh-oh.
and look what's going on right now. Just saying.
Okay.
Go get a pack. Go get a pack. right
Either
now.
way, dairy, wheat, and sugar tend to be the most inflammatory foods.
Yeah.
So just be aware of your body and how your body responds to eating those things. And if you get inflamed, and you might see that you get less flexible.
There is a difference between mobility, like joint mobility, and muscular pliability. So like having like smooth, pliable muscles that you can squeeze. Yeah, having, I guess, supple muscles.
Who doesn't like a supple muscle?
A supple mupple.
Supple muscle. No, who doesn't like Dot, you all right?
So anyways,
I don't like the way this is turned.
if you you could physically have tight, hardened muscles, but have mobile joints.
Yeah. Well, I think a good example of that would have been Chris Scoot I mean, he could get down to a bottom of a snatch really deep, but he was very tense all the time, and he would always be hurting and be like, "Oh, my flexibility and mobility is terrible." And
have you
and all
ever
this.
watched him with his wrists? Like, no joke, he 5-degree flexion, maybe. Like, that was it.
Yeah.
You would have to really crank on his hand to get him to bend his hand back.
Yeah.
It was unreal how inflexible
again,
he was.
we go to mobility versus flexibility.
I think
Two different
some of
things.
that too is going to be magnesium deficiency causes a lot of that.
So, Don, how do you define flexibility and how do you define mobility?
I'm not. I'm going to let you guys do it because I think I like the whole conversation here.
All right, so how do we define flexibility and how do we define mobility?
Well, you answer that.
Yeah, Matt's got his master's degree in
That's right.
exercise
you're all
science.
mastered
Yeah.
up
He's got a
there.
college that says he's allowed to talk about this.
Yeah, got that science and whatever. Got a piece of paper. No, but
Just answer the damn question.
damn it, Tom. Okay, anyway, the way I define flexibility would be the range of motion that someone could, say, stretch, just to simplify it. So being like do splits, trying to visualize for people here, Tom. Calm down.
Can't split for the shit.
So being like doing stretches and that. How far can you stretch a joint versus mobility being how much can you move through a range of motion in that joint. So to go back to the gymnast thing, we had plenty of gymnasts at Ball State who could, stretch, do splits, do crazy things with their joints, but you put them underneath a bar to try and clean or snatch or squat, and they could barely get below parallel. So I think it takes training to work on both things differently. So you have to train both things individually, but they do have beneficial things for each other.
So mobility is probably more beneficial to actually being able to do the lifts, but if you have very, very tight muscles, it's probably pretty hard for those muscles to recover.
Yeah, if you can't touch your toes with a straight leg stretch or whatever, you're gonna have problems just being able to move.
John couldn't touch his toes.
I don't believe that.
Were you there that day?
No, I probably wasn't. It's probably
It was the first day we had Strump come in at Muscle Driver, and he was like, John was having back pain or something like that.
Strump is our chiropractor, by the way.
Dr. Strump, Steel Creek Chiropractic, whatever. Back in action, I don't even know what the name of the company is. Anyways, but he came in and was doing assessments, and he's like, John, touch your toes. And John maybe got 6 inches past his knees. He could not get down. But and you watch somebody like John lift, he makes some crazy, ridiculous saves because he can, sit real well in that bottom position. So you were talking about people that are super inflexible. He could not touch his toes.
But he was very mobile.
He was super mobile. But I'm saying I don't know if how much of it, maybe he played it up a little bit, but it was definitely, I don't know. People like that drive me nuts.
That are mobile but not flexible?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Tom, let's kind of just use you as an example.
Here we go.
Tell us about you and your issues with your mobility.
My issue with mobility, honestly, I don't think I have tight hips. You can tell me if I'm wrong. My biggest issue, I think, is my thoracic mobility. When I get into a bottom position, that's when stuff starts going crazy. I'll either between my head to neck position, I'll start looking down or whatever. I have sometimes a really forward angle on my catch position. And then, it all just affects everything from the hips up. I can sit in a squat position fine. I have no problem sitting down and getting in the position. It's maintaining a good upper body position. I've watched myself, I've seen some of the hook grip videos, and it looks painful when I catch a snatch. I couldn't imagine how everybody else feels watching it, but my biggest issue, I think, with mobility is my upper body mobility. My shoulders are flexible, but maintaining the positions for the lifts, I think, is a big issue.
I think you hit the nail on the head when you first said thoracic area.
Yeah.
I think that is your flexibility or mobility problem.
It's because of kyphosis.
Yeah, right.
Well,
Tom's a little kyphotic, if we can say that. I guess we can. I think that's the term. And that presents positional problems when you've got a wide grip snatch above your head.
So, if I look at you, this is what I would think when watching you and seeing that issue. So I see you can go down there, you do your overhead squats, and you could stay fairly upright with a fairly light weight, but it's kind of a struggle. So something in the front might be pulling you kind of forward, maybe tight abs.
Tight pecs.
Yeah, that could definitely
It's
be
not
it.
going to help somebody that's already got kyphosis.
And
Who's going to rub my pecs for me then?
so, yeah, you should just cut those off.
One's torn. one of them's already torn, so I'm halfway there.
There you
okay,
go.
halfway.
Yeah.
So the issue is you can get into that position, but you can't hold it in like a heavy weight. So some of that's going to be teaching your erectors to lift heavy weights in that motor pattern of being tight and being upright, and just getting that motor pattern more developed and teaching those erectors up top to arch your upper back.
Yeah.
You hear that, Don?
Oh no, that's obviously what's got to be done, and
Fix
also that's got to be done. Yeah. Also, what's got to be done is that he's got to minimize things like we don't do things like bench presses that much. He probably done a lot of that being a thrower. Did you?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably not going to help. And just like you said, it's hard for him to get to those positions and maintain them. So overhead squats would probably be something that we could do which we do behind the neck push presses or with the snatch grip, things like that emphasize that, and things that strengthen those upper erectors too.
Yeah. So
obviously,
the one thing I would say is when I see Tom do his push presses, I mean, Tom has a great push press.
Yeah.
But he allows his head to come forward when he does those push presses, so he stays in that rounded position, so he's not actually strengthening up
it's one
in
of the
that
reasons
more
good presses are good
erect
presses.
spine position.
Yeah.
So I would almost say the opposite of saying doing those things from the front instead of from the back. What would you think about that?
I don't know. I worry about that overdevelopment of the anterior muscles of any group. Shoulders, chest up there, just exacerbating the problem, because it's not only that he has a little trouble getting to the position. Well, the trouble is getting to the positions fast and maintaining a holding stability fast. You know, he can do overhead squats. We've seen him do behind the neck presses with snatch grip or behind the neck push presses with more of a clean grip, and he can do those well. But mobility problems show up in our sport a lot of times because of the speed necessary to get there, and this is brought up here. And some things like drops or snatch balance.
I'm hella fast.
Yeah.
But that may help because he's got to maintain that position quickly, and he's also got to overcome years of motor pattern the opposite way. He's a thrower as well, which means everything was forward and going up.
Yeah.
And he did a lot of bench pressing, all those sort of things to reinforce all the anterior muscles on the torso, and that's got to be overcome. It does not happen easily. It does not happen overnight.
Yeah. Well, one thing that Tom's got going for him is Tom is very fast for a super.
Very quick. Very quick.
Hella fast.
Don't tell him I said so. But
Yeah. No.
Very quick. Yeah.
Tom's face went from
You guys all
this extreme disappointment to hell yeah, they just gave me a compliment,
Yeah.
baby.
who doesn't
Too
like
fast.
Too fast for his own good.
I'm super
Too
fast.
furious.
Super fast. So,
Super fast.
I mean,
See what I did
That's what we're
there?
going to call him from now on.
with the words
SF.
and
SF. Super fast. I don't know.
so, I mean, something that I used to give people that had similar issues to Tom that weren't supers and didn't have as much muscle and rehearsed motor pattern is laying on a foam roller lengthwise, so the foam roller is kind of going down their spine with their arms out to the side, and just kind of laying there for 15 minutes, and it kind of stretches out almost the whole front of the rib cage.
I think
Those
that's a very good
intercostals
thing.
and stuff.
I think that's a very good thing to do for guys that have that particular problem is to just let them lay on something that stretches the hell out of them.
Yeah,
Guess I'm doing
Gravity works
I'm doing that all day tomorrow.
all day.
all day.
Sets of 1 minute.
One. It'll just be one. It'll last for 7
I mean, it
hours.
is
15
possible,
sets
too.
of 1 minute with no rest.
No rest.
I mean, it's definitely possible. If you look at that picture that you have on your Facebook from Sayre Park, I would say you're in pretty good overall position. There's not much they could have been much better on that one particular snatch. And so, I mean, it could be a stability thing, too, just being balanced in that position.
That's because Sarah Park is magical.
Going back to your roost, you got to show off a little bit.
Magic
Kind of get
happens
pumped up.
when you lift at Sarah Park. No joke. That play side story. Those platforms are all from, what was the LA Olympics?
86.
86?
84.
All
right.
those platforms
My
in there
mistake.
are from the 84 Olympics. I don't know how they managed them all. They look like it, too.
They stole them.
But, yeah, they probably did. But they literally have all their platforms are from the warm-up room. And they have one from the competition.
Yeah, the one at the OTC is from the 1996 Olympics,
Yep,
which is
right.
pretty cool. So when you have mock meets there, compete on the same platform that Naeem Suamanalu lifted on, and Wes Barnett had a great performance there. Just a lot of history on that platform, so it's pretty cool. So likewise,
And again,
at
to
the
get
Sarah
back
Park.
to this stability, mobility thing, with we'll keep busting up Tom here. I mean, it's not that he can't hit these positions.
God, Don,
Because we've seen that he does hit those positions. It's a consistency thing, and just like James was saying, and we talked about a little bit, is that a lot of work has to be done to get him to get into better situation with the back situation.
So, Tom,
Doesn't have to be inside the mic.
when's it going to be fixed?
dude, all right, I'm working on it.
I think the 1 4-hour stretch thing that we're talking about is going to help.
Yeah. So we're going to give you a deadline,
A deadline.
and everybody, all the listeners, are going to hold you to it.
Uh-oh.
When do you want that deadline to be?
Winter Nationals?
Middle of July.
Let's go. Shit. You guys are putting me. I don't know. You said it.
End of May.
You said it. Fine. End of May.
End of May.
May 31st.
You're going to have good snatch position down.
You're going to be
Let's do it.
mobiled out.
You better
All
load
right.
up on Oreos.
Mobile.
Everybody heard it.
The supple leopard ain't gonna know what hit him.
Oh, and speaking of that, Tom,
That book is awesome, by the way. Anyways,
no, I was going to be speaking about Oreos. Oreos will not help you get there. I hate to tell
What
you,
if
you and Colin Burns are going
what
to hate
if-
this. Cadbury eggs, I don't think they're
all
going to
right,
help
just
you
hold
get there.
on, just a freaking minute. You leave the Cadbury eggs alone. Easter is coming up. Okay, they sell the 12 packs at CVS for like $3. I'm getting me some 12 packs of Cadburys and I'm gonna eat them.
No,
I
you-
give myself one day.
If
James.
you buy them, the only thing I want you to do with them is
Throw them at your car?
at something. If you throw them at my car instead of eating them, that would be fine with me.
James, I've got an
Now,
idea.
Stephanie might.
Biscuit and I do what we want. Okay.
I've got an idea for the Oreos, James. We make a roller out of Oreos and make him lie on it, so to stretch out his back.
Tom would eat
Instead
it.
of
You
Well,
can't
it'll-
put those things
it'll
in
be-
front of him.
Listen.
Well, have it in
okay?
back of it.
I'm back under control. I'm not going to lie to you. It got to a point where it was a little out of control with the Oreos.
a little
All right.
What was the pack a day?
No, it was not a pack a day. It was three.
Chain smoking Oreos.
Ask my wife. It was 3 packs throughout the week.
Three packs a day.
Your wife wanted us to do an Oreo intervention with you.
She
what
did.
the hell are you
She
talking
did.
about?
Really?
No, she really did. She was getting kind of ticked. Well, because like because for those who don't know, my wife is celiac. All right, and it's to the point where if I eat something that has gluten in it and then I give her a kiss on the mouth, she gets sick. So she was getting really pissed because we'd be sitting there at night. I'd finish dinner.
And you think it's because of the celiac?
That's what she says.
Okay. Just wanted to clear that
But
up.
I would like
don't
sit
know.
there in my recliner with a glass of milk and my Mega Stuff Oreos, and I would eat a whole package. And she'd get really mad at me because if she wanted to give me a kiss or anything like that, she couldn't. But it's under control now. Okay,
Wheat and dairy. Those are the two big inflammatory
Bad
things.
inflammatories.
God,
Don't eat them. I'm saying.
Try to maintain.
I know you're super, and you got to keep that weight on, but
Try and maintain 140 kilos without meat or with dairy or wheat, and tell me how that goes for you.
well, I'm just saying,
Don't you have a gold card membership at
Keep-
Waffle House?
keep it keep it
Waffle
under
House.
control.
The Waffle House loves me.
Of course.
They know
do.
me by name, and they know me as the guy that comes in and orders 6 burgers and 2 waffles.
Puts the burgers in between the waffles, if I might add.
Well,
which
no,
is-
that's the combination I made after the fact. Yeah, what you do is you order the 2 waffles. You get chocolate chip waffles, by the way. All the other waffles they make suck. And you put a waffle down. You put the 6 burger patties on there. Put the other waffle, and then you go to town.
Have you ever seen Epic Mealtime?
Yes.
They sent me a shirt.
Epic Mealtime did?
That YouTube money, that's an Epic Mealtime shirt.
Yeah, and they sent it to you?
Yeah.
Wow. You're popular.
I guess.
I mean, Epic Mealtime, you could find some interesting things on that website.
Their protein bar is pretty legit. That big,
The 5-pound protein bar or whatever?
Yes. I made that once.
With bacon?
Yes.
Well, if it's got bacon, it's legit.
I will say this. Honestly, when it comes to my eating, I'm pretty good for the most part. The biggest thing I always just is like my protein. Like, that is really the biggest thing I focus on because calorie-wise and everything like that. And I'm not picky either. Like, I try not to drink the protein shakes, but there are those days where I know I haven't eaten enough, so I got to rely on them. But going back to this whole inflammatory thing in my deadline, I will hit the deadline, and I only give myself one day where I go crazy with the food. The rest of the time, I'm pretty on track because I get tired of being a jerk to my wife.
He wants some TLC, baby. Sundays, fun days.
No, it's not fair because my wife is actually really strict with her eating. And she's very she's got things planned out and she does all the meal planning and everything like that. And then while she's cooking these really healthy gluten-free meals, and then there's my fat ass sitting on the couch with my Oreos and milk, and it's just I feel bad because she can't have anything like that. And
let's switch gears to something else for a little bit.
Yeah.
We went off on a Tom
Yeah,
tangent for 30 minutes. So.
You started it.
He was talking to me, by the way. I did start that. What you got, Tom? Okay, on to your next topic.
Let's hear it.
Oh, well, I didn't really have anything.
Oh, we definitely just put you on the spot there.
Matt, you got a topic?
Yeah,
Well-
it was something you and Don were talking about this morning about it was something with nervousness or freaking out about the pull or something like that. Do you remember?
The fact that I've been sucking lately is going back to me. We're not talking about me anymore. We're
Trying to get away from him. Holy
no,
mackerel.
go ahead and talk about that a little bit, Don. We were talking about, in terms of weightlifting, everybody talks about, the taper bug or whatever the term. I was talking to Don this morning about just hitting a rough patch, and Don, kind of agreed and / was making fun of me, talking about, you get to this point when you're training where you don't feel like you even know what a snatch or a clean and jerk is. And most times it happens right before, or in the month or two leading up to a competition.
It's the same thing. Glenn and I have talked about this too. It's a 2 week itch. It's 2 weeks or so, 2-3 weeks before a contest. Every weightlifter is absolutely convinced that they have no strength and they've forgotten entirely how to lift. And every coach goes into a deep depression because you figure, I can't do anything else. There's nothing else we can do. There's no adjustments that we can make. And what we've got is what we've got. And if somebody comes up with a big problem, we don't have time to fix it. And it's the anxiety of competition. It's something you get used to. You don't ever like it, but you get used to it. But it happens with an awful lot of athletes and an awful lot of sports, always about the same time, 2 or 3 weeks before competition. You're in a taper phase. You're not getting the physical feedback of the amount of work you've been used to for most of the time, and your brain goes a little wacky for a few nights, and then you get better.
So you just get better?
It comes around because the training is there. It's just it's the anxiety. It's anxiety, and if you don't ever have that, I think there's something probably a little wrong with you. I like lifters that are a little bit nervous, a little bit anxious. If you're not, and that doesn't mean that they're not confident, but they're still a little bit anxious, especially 2 or 3 weeks. Usually that means when they get to the contest and they get to the warm-up room, that stuff goes away. That's what it usually means. You certainly hope it means that. But I've seen it an awful lot of times with any kind of lifter, good, medium, or new lifters. I've seen them all do the same thing.
So it's all right that it happens, that you get that little
I think it's
itch.
a natural reaction. I don't think it's any different than the fight or flight almost.
When you cut the volume a little bit and you start tapering for a meet, your body, it takes a little while for that rest to kind of, your body almost falls asleep, and then it takes a little while for that rest to actually show up in your training. which he really wanted to show up at the meet, obviously. Something I've been doing is leading up to this meet, I am focusing on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 6 lifts. Those 6 lifts are not necessarily anywhere close to my openers or the attempts that I'm going to take in the meet. But, for instance, yesterday I did 120, 125, 130, 150, 155, 160. And I try to focus on having good technique with those particular lifts, priming my mind to make 6 attempts. So then I'll probably up that by 5 kilos or 7 kilos tomorrow, and then do the same thing on Friday. And it's just a good way to get speed, technique going down, prime my mind for success out on the platform. Focus on those 6 lifts. So.
And this is an idea that you're hearing from an experienced lifter, and this makes some good sense.
Well, because I certainly knew yesterday, I mean, if I had tried to go on heavy, I don't think that I could have snatched 140 yesterday because I killed myself with a set of squats on Saturday, and I would have been bashing my head on the wall. So I was honest with myself, and I was like, hey, I feel like crap today, but I really want to hit some crisp lifts. I don't care what the weight is.
One of the things that people have to realize about how the brain works, it is much more fed by success and failure than it is what exactly was it that I was successful in and what did I fail at. So if you do 6 attempts like Travis just talked about, and they happen to be well below your maximums, it doesn't really matter all that much to the brain. If you've been successful 6 times and you have a good feeling coming out of it, the brain is fed, and it reinforces itself. And again, if you're a trained athlete and you're well able to do all of the lifts that you're going to try to do at a contest, it doesn't mean you have to do them every day. It means that you should use training as a success monitor. You should have a lot of success in training, and that's going to help you in contest more than the actual numbers you made, as long as they're reasonable.
And you do want to have some success at openers and higher.
Sure.
Obviously, because you just can't. I mean, it's hard to mentally go into a meet. If you've only snatched 130 in training, you're not going to open with 150. I mean,
Not likely.
So maybe you don't necessarily have to.
Challenge accepted.
Except for James.
Well, you've
obviously
That
you've
would
got
be 5 kilos over my best.
Obviously, you've got to have some. The brain has to have some experience with a pretty close percentage of what you're going to attempt at a meet, but it doesn't have to have it every day. It should have success every day, or just about every day, more than failure.
So y'all boys getting hungry?
Oh God, I'm hungry. I'd like some Oreos right now, wouldn't you?
We did have we had a couple questions come in. One was about working out in a hotel gym. Basically, what would you guys recommend doing in a hotel gym? I'm assuming this hotel gym has some kind of cardio equipment, some kind of dumbbells, and some kind of lat pull down / leg extensions, hamstring curls. My recommendation was to get the dumbbells out, do some dumbbell push presses, jerks, maybe even some snatches. I mean, just move around, fast movements. And then I don't think it would be bad to get a little bit of a sweat going with maybe like a 15-minute bike ride, something like that. But yeah, I mean, you're kind of limited when you're in a hotel, and if that's your only option, just do what you can. You guys have any other ideas based on what you've seen at hotel gyms?
What I think you should do is you should rearrange the whole gym. I mean, that's a lot of work. So you're going to get some work in because you're lifting up all these weights and treadmills and stuff, and then make it completely different.
Wow.
Of course you would do some dick move like that.
No, I would just make the layout better, and then you get a workout.
Sounds good, James.
Being super serious here. Okay.
Super serious.
I'm not when I travel. God, I'm gonna throw my phone through. It just keeps going. I'm popular. When I go on a trip or something
Tom's
like that.
mom is texting him.
Seriously, she is. Mom, I'll talk to you later. But when I'm on the road or traveling or whatever, if I do not have access usually to like a CrossFit gym or a gym where I can do at least squats, what I honestly, if my only option is a hotel gym or whatever, first off, I don't go anywhere near the cardio equipment. I'll just seriously just turn it into a bro day. I'll do some rows, like little, if they have like a lat pull down machine or, you know, some dumbbells, whatever, do a couple sets of like 10 to 15, some like 1 or 2 sets, pick like 5 different exercises and just have a little more fun with it, because the way we train now, everything is so regimented and you're doing this all the time. If one day of just doing some light exercises at high reps, whatever, is not going to kill you. If anything,
it might give you a different stimulus.
What? Well, yeah, it's going
Different
to give you different
stimulus
stimulus,
is
but the other thing too is, you know, it's going to, you know, a little, you know, give yourself a little blood flow to those certain areas, make your joints a little happy, make the tendons and everything a little happier, instead of the constant, you know, 1 or 2 reps of abuse that you.
Hey, it feels good to do some presses and get in the gym and do bicep curls.
Sometimes you just need to get a pump, Travis.
Yeah, I mean, Arnold said that pump is better than coming. So.
Wow.
I mean, it does. It feels good to do presses and get a little pump going. So it's not bad to do that once in a while. But if you're in the hotel gym often, then sometimes you need to substitute that for some fast movements. Dumbbell snatches with both arms, one arm. Dumbbell jerks. I mean, those things are freaking hard to do because you have to work those stability muscles. So if nothing else, try that out. Did you guys get any other questions?
No, I didn't.
Anything you guys want to talk about before we get done?
James,
Hmm.
you're God.
I'm thinking.
I'm not kidding.
Turn your phone off.
Yeah, I
That's
know.
with you.
This is. We
Good
should have like
God.
the movie theater opening
I'm
about.
telling you.
Please shut your phones
Just
off
for Tom, though.
for this feature premiere of the weightlifting scoop. Tom.
Yeah, at the end of it says Tom.
No, I mean I don't have any.
Well, so tweet us at WLiftingScoop. Check out the weightliftingscoop.com. We haven't put out a forgotten exercise, but we got a couple good ideas we're going to be releasing later on this week. And so take a look out for that on the blog.
Should we occasionally do an update on Tom's stretching out and getting him?
We could do that. I could video
set for
Tom
that-
doing some
on that
mobility
May
work.
31st deadline now.
He needs to stop doing
Yeah.
that damn flexibility drill he's already good at. And
We need to get that,
Get him on
what's
that.
the sit and reach box test that we
Oh,
do
God.
back in high school.
It's a sit and reach.
No, we're doing mobility, Matt.
Mobility, not flexibility. We
Uh,
talked
anyways.
about this before.
yeah, I mean, that would actually be cool to video Tom doing some of these
For
drills.
you?
Tom, you're gonna have to do them anyway, so we might as well film you and watch your pain.
I think that follows. I think that follows.
I hate you.
People want to see this, Tom.
Well, people like to see a real life,
Real life super, not the ones you see behind the cage at the zoo.
I mean, sometimes people are
does
out
it to
there and they
himself.
have a hard time getting the motivation to fix their mobility issue that is the same as yours, and it helps them see someone that they see on the YouTube videos. Like, hey, this guy actually has the same problem, and he had the willpower to actually do these exercises to fix it, and that'll help people out there.
Don't be selfish.
Jason Starks, by the way, is going to absolutely love this, because every time I post a video of some sort of mobility-esque thing, he comments, you got to do this, you got to do that, you got to do that, work on it now. So he is going to absolutely love these updates.
Oh, yeah. Well, Tom,
Yes.
you guys got any new recipes out on the strength agenda?
No. But go to the site. We are constantly updating articles and stuff. We have actually a good 2-part front squat article that somebody sent in that I posted from Patrick Kern. It's pretty good. The first part went over the actual front squat, importance of it, and how to actually perform one. And the second part goes over, hey, mobility of getting yourself into a good front squat position. So we got a lot of good articles and stuff on there. Go ahead and check it out. It's www.thestrengthagenda.com, and there's also a Twitter and Facebook page that you can like and follow. So,
And you guys were also, you guys are still selling the ebook.
yes,
And,
we're actually in the middle of revising it right now.
okay.
So,
Volume 2 coming out soon, James.
Go check out JamesTatumUSA.com. Got a seminar in Wilmington at CrossFit Coastal coming up March 8th.
Yeah, and schedule a catapult clinic with the catapult man right here, Don McCauley, on MuscleDriverUSA.com.
Anytime. We're opening up 2-day clinics now, and I think you get in touch with Chris. I think you go to our website, Muscle Driver website, and get down there to Catapult Clinics and get in touch with Chris, and we'll see what we can do for a date.
All right, guys. We'll see you next time.